Hi guys, real quick, this is Mr. Dr. Logic here, and this is Module 10 walkthrough. This is for all you people in it's like it's like 202 UTM doing the quarantine for winter 2021. Honestly, going forward, I have no idea if the professor is going to continue doing things this way, but this is just going to be a quick minute review. I know I went a little lower this time, but you're just going to have to bear with me. So, some of the key points I want to address is that when dealing with certain questions, especially for Module 10, you're going to, when they ask for something like, is it normally distributed? First, you got to see if it's symmetry and if it's a sand pile. If both conditions are met, then it is definitely normally distributed. But if not, then, I mean, it might not look symmetrical at times. I mean, it might, yeah, kind of look like there's a bump here or this is lower than that. If you compare the two, it's not the same, but you get the idea. So moving down, this will be another important but new equation that's been introduced. And the S, this is the official way to calculate it. So what you're going to do is you're going to have to take the S, which is all of this. Don't worry, you're given this information, this and this. And so by default, you'll be able to solve this and all of S. So don't worry about it in terms of them hiding information. So it's just going to be S squared with N minus 1 and alpha squared. This will also be given, so don't worry about it. And this is the new hybrid version that I discovered while doing it. So be careful while using this. This is still a little trippy, but I recommend doing this. I would like to call this like the fast way. Yeah, that's better. So this would be like the faster way, but yes. And so if you guys do not know this equation at all, this is by far the most important equation, as you'll be given this value, you square it, divided by n, and then you subtract it with this. Your calculator will have it saved, or if you're doing it on the desktop calculator like I am, just Control C, Control V to avoid typing the whole thing out, divided by n, and then square root the whole thing, and you should get the answer pretty straightforward and pretty quickly. And then later on, you will be asked a difference, such as whether is standard deviation 1 equal to standard deviation 2, like whether or not it's compatible. So you're going to get a question like that. And simply put, this is how you do it. You first calculate this, and then you multiply it by this. If it's equal to 1, you can ignore it, but usually this is how it's done. Ignore the alpha part. It's better to explain this in the video. And lastly, for calculating pooled standard deviation, this is the equation you're going to use. Ignore the blue as that's a side question. And this is the symbol they use. Well, they use this. Well, that's not helpful. They use this symbol, but I like using this symbol better, but it doesn't matter. It's same. And as we keep going forward, this is going to be the t-test, as you're going to be using this specific t-test to do if you follow this procedure correctly. There's more detail in the video. This is just more to help you understand how to calculate df, which is difference in thing. Ignore this part. This is completely wrong. And then, yeah, that's to understand pooled standard deviation, whether it's worth it or not. And yeah. And then lastly, I think the most hardest part would be is whether the z-test is normally distributed, or is to figure out if it's a z-test or if it's a population standard deviation. So if it's a z-test, this has to be true, and this is a or statement, because if either one of these are true, such as the population standard deviation is known, then you have to go by default z-test. If the sample variance is equal to the population variance, which I'm missing right here, real quick, there we go. If they're both equal to each other, then you go by default with the standard deviation. However, if for some reason you don't get either or, then by default you just go and assume doing things as a t-test, which I do later on in the video. I think it's question 3. And this is how you would calculate the z-test and the y-test. Just sub out the two. And I know I made it a little confusing by including this t-test right here, but this is only if you are specifically asked to calculate this and this earlier in the question, which you will see later on. And then lastly, there will be other options, because the first option is the z-test, the second option is the t-test, the third option is sine, then Mann-Whitney, and then Wilcoxon. Not in that order, but you will see all 5. And when to consider each is when it doesn't not apply to the z or the t-test. I haven't encountered it in this video, but you guys might, so be careful of that. Consider sine test if you have matched pairs and binary outcome, which is rather specific and odd, but binary being either a 0 or a 1. This doesn't help. Either a 0 or a 1. And matched pairs, it'll specifically tell you that it's a husband, wife, or 2 rabbits are taken, and they're specifically divided, like female rabbit and then another female rabbit. And then the Mann-Whitney test, this is a between participants. Between participants are just a group of people split into 2 based on traits, such as having a child and not having a child, or knowing a language and not knowing a language. It's going to be pretty similar. And the within subject is just going to be everyone does the same thing. Everyone's same skill level, or they're just capable of doing the same thing. However, going back to Mann-Whitney test, it's going to have to be between participants, and there's going to be a continuous DV. So if it doesn't fit so if the Z doesn't work, the T test doesn't work, consider it to be Mann-Whitney. And then Wilcoxon, it's pretty much matched pairs or within subjects, and there is also a continuous DV. So other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review, and I want to give a quick shout out to this person who completely made this for helping us out. She even linked to my video in the page. You guys can go check that out, and give this person a quick shout out. Join the Discord in the description below and let her know how much you love her.